Dave,
Paul,
thanks for being in the circle with me today.
that's my pleasure. One of my own versions of success, or my beliefs about success, is it's obviously good luck and hard work. But actually, my first job out of college was I moved furniture in Boston. It was a great first job. I mean, it was physical labor. That was back in the day when they didn't have GPS. I mean, I read maps in the truck to tell the driver how to get from point A to point B. It was a great first job. I then moved to Chicago to start at the Chicago Board of Trade, and I started at the very bottom. I was a phone clerk, and in those days, when the orders came in, you ran them into the pits for execution, then ran them back and reported it over the phone. And the people that owned the company, two guys named Bob and Dave Goldberg, they were mentors to me. They were people that taught me about values, about always honoring your word. And one of the things that I learned from them is your word is your bond. And that if you don't honor your word, you'll get a reputation. People won't trade with you. Their view was, do the right thing.
Talk a little bit about your journey
Yeah.
to this job.
I just had the philosophy that if you work hard and do the right thing, good things will happen. And through a combination of hard work and a little luck along the way, having mentors, having a good family and friends that gave me good advice. I've always enjoyed the phrase, man plans and God laughs. And meaning you can plan all you want, but some of it is circumstance, but I think a lot of it is being in the right place at the right time, but preparing yourself for that success. I became CFO of Cargill very suddenly when the incumbent CFO went home on a Friday afternoon in May of 2008 and died very suddenly of a heart attack. And so I was in the meat business and the energy business at the time, and 5 days later I was CFO of Cargill. I couldn't have imagined that or planned for that event. When I first moved to London, I got the job because the incumbent resigned to go to work for an investment bank. And the following week, my boss at the time said, any interest in moving to London to take a spot? And how can you plan for that?
Is there advice you'd give your younger self?
It's going to be okay. And you can control certain things, but much of life you can't control. I could never have envisioned the job that I'm in, sitting here talking to you, the life that I've had. You just can't envision it. And so enjoy the ride, have fun along the way. Try not to stress out about things that you can't control and influence what you can, but everything's going to be okay. I love watching leaders and thinking, what is it about them that makes them successful? What is it that makes them not successful? I think you can learn as much from an unsuccessful leader as you can from people that have succeeded. I think that's a key quality of leadership is, are the people that you're leading, are the people that are following you, are they thriving? Are they learning? I've really worked hard not to be an ivory tower or an imperial CEO. And there, as you know, there are those CEOs that are out there. They don't interact with their teammates, their colleagues. They stay isolated. Maybe they have their own private dining room, or maybe they never see anybody. And I just think it's important for people that we work with to know who am I, and I'm a regular person, notwithstanding the title that I have. So I've been in situations before where you need to kind of shock the system, change things up, and so a couple things happened, and one of them was assembling a new leadership team, which I did, and then it was also about rebalancing the portfolio. So we were a little unfocused, strategically unfocused. And that one of the things you can do as a private company is you can do that perhaps easier than you can with a public company. Our team embarked upon an effort of kind of cleaning up the businesses where we weren't performing well, didn't have a long-term strategic intent to invest and to be really great at. So the last couple of years, have seen the portfolio been rearranged by getting out of those businesses and then reinvesting that capital where we do have very strong intents to have successful businesses long term. The saying goes, to whom is given great privilege goes great responsibility. My first week on the job, literally the first week, I got a phone call that said we had 8 shipments of corn going to China that were going to be rejected for the presence of a GMO, and that it was going to cost us significant losses. First week on the job. And a couple months later, we had a trading position that went bad, cost us significant losses. So 90 days in, and I thought, I'm not doing so good. And I think what you've got to do is rely on your family, your faith, your friends, to find that resilience. It's a tool you've got to have. You've got to pick yourself up. There's nobody feeling sorry for you. But I think if you have a strong leadership team, people you can rely on for advice, that's how you get through difficult times. And that's what I've tried to do. But I think resilience is a key component of successful leadership. When I first became CEO, I did a lot of soul searching. You know, how did I get here and why? I'd never forget that. I never take it for granted. And I do whatever I can to help others. It's a unique opportunity to impact the world, whether it's bringing food or producing it more sustainably or giving of our time or speaking out on important social issues. And I think that's the responsibility that goes with privilege, is to try and make your impact while you can.
So tell us a little bit about Cargill today.
Well, we're 155,000 employees in 70 countries. Our basic products are in agriculture, food ingredients, and nutrition. We do have some branded products like Truvia, the all-natural zero-calorie sweetener. We just sold our 10 billionth sachet of Truvia. It went from zero to it's the #2 tabletop sweetener in the market today, and it's the #1 stevia-based sweetener in the market today. But basically, our business is getting food from where it's produced to where it's consumed. Everything from buying soybeans or corn, barley, wheat from the farmer, putting it on a truck, a rail car, a barge, a ship, and maybe exporting it to China from Brazil or from Canada to China. And also taking that food and processing it in some way. So we might take soybeans and crush them to make cooking oil, to make soybean meal to feed chickens. We buy cattle and make beef. We buy turkeys and sell whole bird turkeys. Honeysuckle White is another branded product of ours. But one of the things we like to say, which is difficult to prove, but you probably consumed a Cargill product at some point in time in your day. That whether it was we feed about 1/3 of the world's salmon, for example. I mentioned we make beef, turkey, chicken around the world. We're the #1 supplier of eggs to McDonald's. So we don't have a high name recognition because we don't have a lot of branded products. But the ingredients that we make, and also the fact that I think that we're private, means we are kind of off the radar, but that's okay, we like it that way. Our purpose, our stated mission, is to be the leader in nourishing the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. We're going to 9 billion by 2050. We're at 7.4 today. Now, to me, 18 years is a snap. There's 1.3 billion more people in the world today than there were just 18 years ago. But I think that's one of the great challenges of our time. So we spend a lot of time thinking about, in the production of food, how can we produce more food with fewer or the same resources, and how can we do it in a responsible and sustainable way, such that we don't continue to put a strain on the Earth's resources, and that we can feed the next 1.5 billion people without using significantly more water or producing more greenhouse gas or more land. But we're going to need to be able to scale agriculture through the use of technology. So, for example, we just made an investment in a partnership with the Nature Conservancy and Nestle. And it's basically an acoustic listening device that when a farmer irrigates their field, can tell the level of saturation in the ground acoustically and stop watering. And so our job is to bring technology, whether it's satellite imaging, drone imaging. I told our CIO I want us to be known as a technology company. Bringing technology and having technologically advanced businesses that help us achieve our mission of being safe, responsible, and sustainable producers of food. We also have a partnership where we're producing protein replacement for fish ingredients in the fish feed through fermentation, through agricultural products. And agriculture has been a slower industry to develop its technological resources. I think it's going to come pretty fast in the next 5 to 10 years. So we have excellent relationships with heads of state. I spoke to a head of state just an hour ago about what's going on with NAFTA and what we can do to keep trade lanes open, keep trade relationships open. The issue with President Medvedev wasn't related to that plant in Ukraine. It was related to just some help on getting we're building a sunflower crush facility in Volgograd in Russia.
Oh.
And it was going a little slowly due to some administrative congestion, if you will. And so I asked him for his help in clearing up the bottleneck.
Did he do it?
He did, yeah. He made a call down to the governor and the governor of the Volgograd state, and that plant is up and running today. What would I want my legacy to be whenever I'm done? That I was able, with our leadership team, to bring more inclusion and diversity to the company. And it's not just traditional measures of diversity. So yes, it's persons of color, it's gender, it's GLBT, but it's also diversity of thought, diversity of work style. It might be experiential diversity, everything from extroverts and introverts to you like to work alone or you would like to work in groups. So we've worked hard, and actually I think half of the company's professional population has been here less than 10 years. Now it's such a different paradigm to work for multiple companies, but we've changed the culture in one way we've done it is through inclusion and diversity, meaning bringing a diverse set of people by experiences and saying, you've seen places outside of Cargill, how can we be better? We have specific targets that we are a signatory to something called the Paradigm for Parity, which says half of our employee base will be women by the year 2030. We have specific targets for, or measurements for persons of color and for gender by 2020. So that which is measured gets done. We have the first female members of the Cargill leadership team, the top leadership team. We've had women in a broader leadership band in the past, but our leadership team of 9 has 2 women, and that was historic for the company. But we've also done things such as we insist from all our leaders that when you're hiring for an open position, you must have a diverse slate. I think it's also goes back to authenticity and accessibility, and I want people to know how important inclusion and diversity is to our success and to our culture. I spend a fair amount of time mentoring young people, young persons of color, young women, giving them my insights or my ideas, and then also keeping an eye on their career. If there's small ways I can help or influence their success, that's where I spend a fair amount of my time.
So you're a great father. How do you balance all that?
I will give everlasting and permanent credit to my wife, who was so good about saying, don't forget, Jack's got a band concert, play trombone, and don't forget to get that in your calendar, or in September, here's the school calendar, here's the basketball schedule, get it on your calendar. And I'm proud to say I coached multiple teams for each one of my kids until I hit the Peter Principle and reached my own level of incompetence. I have great memories, I hope my kids do. But for me that was so important. And could I have traveled less? Yes. But was I always home for holidays and always home for the important events? I was. That's how I recharge my battery, is with my family and my friends and my loved ones. I couldn't do this job without it. I have a spiritual faith that's been very important to me in my life. I've had strong faith-based friendships through my place of worship and through my friendships. You've got to have physical strength, mental strength. You've got to have some kind of, I believe that you've got to have a spiritual faith and a spiritual strength. They kind of interact with each other and they get out of balance over time. I think having that spiritual component, exercise your own spiritual muscles, is really important to being a complete person, but to being an effective leader. To rely on a greater power to say, I need the strength, or I need the vision or the guidance that I'm not getting from other places right now. And so it's been an important part of my life.
Dave, thanks very much. You were great. Thanks for being in the circle.
My pleasure, Paul. Thanks for including me.